I'd like to welcome from the Olean Times Herald, beat writer for St. Bonaventure, JP Butler. JP, welcome.
Ray, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate doing these kinds of things and talking about the Bonnies. So
Well,
looking
we
forward.
appreciate you doing that. Well, let's start with the head Bonnie, Mark Schmidt. What he's done at St. Bonaventure, many people never thought could happen, be a consistent contender in the Atlantic 10. How has he pulled that off?
And it's interesting. He talks about it all the time. Deflecting credit to his assistants for being able to find these, hidden gems and guys that go under the radar. I mean, he's just made a career of being able to do that here at St. Bonaventure, being able to sell the basketball that takes him, basketball being the number one priority. If you want, all of these other things, if you need all these other things as a player, and even now, with like the NIL stuff, if you need that kind of thing, St. Bonaventure maybe isn't the place for you. He wants the guys who just want to play, who just want to be in the gym all the time. He sells, this idea that the Riley Center doors are open for these guys, 24/7, and if that's what you want to be, and just this idea of developing players and getting them better, guys that you've never heard of before coming in, who are now maybe all conference players by the time they leave. I mean, that's just the kind of thing that he's made an art of here. And then, I think the more you get better, and the more you start to have that success, now you've got even a little bit more to sell. And so in the last 5, 6 years, they've had tangible success in terms of winning the conference and being in position to compete for a championship every year and making NCAA tournaments and sending guys to the NBA, to the pro level, that now you have that, to sell on top of it. And it's just, I've been here covering the team since his second season. So I've seen this entire thing, unfold now over the last 14, 15 years. And it's just been building and building and building in that direction this entire time. Although, of course, now, they're facing, more of a challenge than they have in a long time.
Mhm. And let's talk about that. If anything's going to be brisk in sales this year, it's going to be programs at St. Bonaventure games. He's had to retool. And can you talk about the retooling job that he's done in such a short period of time?
Yeah, well, and we talked about it before we kind of, went on here. Bana is really um, reflective, probably the biggest poster child we've seen in the country of everything that's going on in terms of the changes in college basketball with the NIL stuff, with the transfer portal. I mean, here is a team that lost pretty much literally everybody from last year. They bring back 4 total points, 2 just end of the game baskets from the one kid who actually dressed last year, and then 2 guys who redshirted, who were part of it last year, didn't play, who will be in the mix this year. And then it's just unlike anything we've ever seen in the spring. They thought they had a commitment from the 5 starters, from last year, from that ranked team, from the team that made the tournament the year before, that those guys were coming back. That didn't happen. Other things, they leave. Everybody on the bench had kind of left in and around and before that, because I think maybe they thought, if these 5 guys are coming back, they play the whole game, I'm not leaving. So that created a situation where, the entire team leaves, and, he's got this unprecedented situation where he's got to bring in an entirely new team. So he talked about it at the Bana in-house media day last week. He's never had to recruit this hard, in the spring in his life. And they really tried to put a focus on finding, using the portal to their advantage. And I think that's something we're going to see. For as much as it hurts a program like Bana, it can help in that at least now you kind of have that well to go to try to find some guys who have had success, a lot of success at a lower level, bring them up to Bond of the A10 and see if they can prove themselves at this level. So they've got a couple of guys who won their lower conference Rookie of the Year, Patriot League Rookie of the Year, Northeast Conference Rookie of the Year. They did get a 4-star high school prep kid. They got a kid, Moses Flowers, who averaged 14 a game and was a third team, all conference player in his league. And so you're right. I mean, nobody really knows a whole lot about these guys yet. They had a fan jam event where you could kind of see them for the first time. They've got their exhibition coming up where that'll be the first time they take the floor with the lights on, together, and we'll find out more. But yeah, just going into uncharted territory here in terms of the new team, and the hope is that this combination of guys from lower levels who are coming up, maybe that guy or two from a power conference school that didn't necessarily pan out there and is looking for a new start in the A10, and some high school kids, these red shirts, 12 new guys in total, and we're going to see what that combination of guys can do. They're picked to finish 10th in the A10. My thing just at this point, every year, Bonner has exceeded or met, where they're kind of picked in the preseason. And I know there are a ton of question marks, but the one thing I would bet on is that if it's a Mark Schmidt coach team, they're going to have a chance to compete. They're going to have a chance to finish higher than they're expected, because that's, basically what he's done his entire tenure here.
On paper, or in your conversations with the coaching staff, who are the guys, maybe 2 or 3 guys, who they're expecting to carry much of the load?
Yeah, that's interesting, because I just sort of wrote a story for the local paper here about that very topic, and just sort of a depth chart. Where does that stand now? And the way they talk about these guys, and this is a name I didn't even just mention right there, Daryl Banks III from St. Peter's. I mean, he is, if there's one guy who's sort of a known entity who the public, large has heard of, it's Daryl from St. Peter's. He was part of that team last year that made that magical run to the Elite Eight. They knock off Kentucky in the first round in 2:15 game. He had 27 points in that game. That was really his breakout party. He sort of came into the national spotlight, and they got him, after that season ended. He was one of the first guys they brought in for this year. So I know there's a lot of excitement with him, 6'3" guard. I think he's going to be asked and would be expected to be the go-to guy this year, to really fill that scoring load. He's in his 4th year in college, so he's bringing experience. He's really the only guy on their roster who's in his 4th year now. They have no seniors on this team. Another is Kyrell Luke. He's one of those reigning rookies of the year. He was at Holy Cross. He was the Patriot League Rookie of the Year. They have high expectations for him. I think he's going to be the point guard from day one, guy with the ball in his hands all the time, the quarterback of the team, as Coach Schmidt, as a Patriots fan, likes to call it. And Schmidt, they rely so much on the point guard position. They've had good ones, the last 8 years now, and Kyle Lofton and Jalen Adams. It would be asking a lot for him to come in and be of that ilk right away, but they are going to ask him to come in and hopefully continue the tradition of having a strong player, at that position, another guy with some experience. So I think it's going to start with those two in the backcourt.
JP, last question. If you can describe the Bonaventure / Mark Schmidt style of play, what would it be?
That's good. A couple of years ago, former Davidson coach Bob McKillop, one of the truly respected, loved guys. We've been lucky enough to be able to do games with him in the A10. Obviously, he retired, over the off season, and his son, has taken over at Davidson. One of the words he used to describe Bonner was unfettered. He really gives them the freedom, offensively to be who they are, and give each guy the ability to sort of be who they are, play to their strengths, put them in a position to do well. And again, that's one of the keys to them being so successful over the last decade now is having these guys who can grow and be good individually. Now this year, again, is going to be a little different because in each year prior, he's had those guys who'd already proven it at this level, and so it was easier for him to be able to trust them to kind of go out there, run the offense, do their thing. This year, that might take some time because he still has to see it. We still have to see it. How these guys actually fare. I think there are going to be some growing pains early on. I think when guys go into UD Arena for the first time, there's going to be some nerves there where it takes some time. But again, I think that if it's a Coach Schmidt led team, they're going to eventually find their way. It's almost like every year, they get better and they're able to make this like February run, where they can get closer to the top of the A10, get that bye in the A10 tournament, give themselves a chance. I think the hope is that they can at least give themselves a chance, to get to that point.
Well, I thank you so much for taking the time. If you want to follow St. Bonaventure, the best way, JP Butler 10 on Twitter. JP, thank you so much and enjoy the season.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to seeing you guys here shortly. And again, appreciate you having me on.
Take care.